What if I told you the last clear images we'll ever get of Pluto revealed a frozen heart that might still be beating? For most of modern history, Pluto was a cosmic ghost, a smudge of light lost in the vast shadows beyond Neptune. It sat quietly at the edge of our solar system, cold, distant, forgotten. Discovered in 1930 by Clyde Tombaugh, Pluto was immediately classified as our solar system's 9th planet. But even then, something about Pluto didn't sit right with astronomers. It was small, too small. Its orbit was strange, tilted, elliptical, crossing Neptune's path like an interloper in the planetary family. Still, it had a title: planet. That title gave Pluto dignity. It gave it presence. And yet, despite its official status, Pluto became the loneliest world in our textbooks. Entire generations grew up seeing it only as a gray dot on the edge of planetary charts, if it was shown at all. From Earth, we could see little more than a flickering speck. Even the mighty Hubble Space Telescope, humanity's most powerful eye in the sky, could do little more than turn Pluto into a handful of fuzzy colored blobs. It was frustrating, humbling, and eventually disheartening. Science turned its gaze elsewhere. Why bother with a frozen rock nearly 6 billion kilometers away when there were closer, more exciting planets like Saturn with its glorious rings? Or Mars, a potential second home? Pluto became a planetary afterthought, a footnote, a trivia question. For decades, its image didn't evolve. Its mystery didn't deepen. It simply existed, out there. But sometimes, it's the forgotten places that hold the biggest surprises. In 2006, NASA launched a probe, a compact spacecraft no larger than a baby grand piano, and it was called New Horizons. Its mission? Not to orbit, not to land, but to do something we had never done before: get one good look at Pluto. But New Horizons wasn't just a mission of exploration, it was a mission of redemption, because just as it left Earth's gravity behind, Pluto's fate on Earth was changing. In that same year in Prague, the International Astronomical Union, a group of astronomers from around the globe, voted to demote Pluto. Its planet status? Revoked. The media had a field day. Children cried. Teachers rewrote lesson plans. Why is Pluto not a planet anymore? Became one of the most asked science questions on the internet. But New Horizons didn't care. It had already left the Earth. It was traveling faster than any spacecraft before it. So fast, in fact, that it passed the moon just 9 hours after launch. 10 times faster than the Apollo missions. Think about that. 9 hours. Most commercial flights don't last that long. And in that time, New Horizons had already left our nearest neighbor behind. It was an engine of purpose, a symbol of speed and certainty, racing toward a world the rest of science had largely turned its back on. For the next 9.5 years, New Horizons drifted through the solar system, silently, patiently, unstoppably. No course corrections, no detours, just one objective: Pluto. And back on Earth, the world forgot again. Sure, scientists tracked it, but the public distracted. After all, what was so exciting about a spacecraft crawling through the cold, empty dark toward a demoted ice rock? Then, almost without warning, the world looked up again. By 2014, New Horizons was close enough to Pluto to start taking pictures. At first, nothing impressive, just another blurry dot. But then, one day, the dot had shape. The next day, color. Then, texture, like a photo developing in the slow, dark room of space. Pluto, this forgotten wanderer, was waking up. For the first time in history, we saw the world becoming. It was pixel by pixel, bit by bit, a download rate of just 1 kilobit per second, slower than early internet. But with each image, the mystery grew, and with it, So did the awe. This wasn't just a rock, it was a world. And then, one image came in, and the world stopped. There, across the surface of Pluto in broad, unmistakable view, was a massive, light-colored shape. Symmetrical, soft-edged, unmistakably heart-shaped. The frozen heart of Pluto. Scientists couldn't believe it. This wasn't metaphor. It was real. The heart, later named Sputnik Planitia, spanned over 1,000 kilometers. It was carved into the surface like a message hidden in plain sight for eons, now finally revealed. It was almost poetic. The planet we rejected had a heart. And somehow, we felt that heart beating. But what lay beneath that heart? What were those jagged ridges nearby? Was Pluto just beautiful, or was it alive? As New Horizons got closer, the data began to tell a story no one expected, and what we discovered changed everything.
New Horizons had shown us something we weren't ready for. Pluto was a world, not a rock, a place with identity, terrain, and mystery, and the further it drifted, the more extraordinary the revelations became. But let's rewind. Let's go back to the beginning of this journey, before the heart, before the colors, before the awe. Before humanity fell in love again with the planet it once abandoned, let's talk about the race. Not just the speed of a machine, but a race of meaning. A mission to rewrite how we see the outer solar system. January 19th, 2006, Cape Canaveral, Florida. A compact spacecraft no bigger than a baby grand piano sits atop an Atlas V rocket. Small, quiet, but inside, a message wrapped in titanium. It's the fastest launch in human history. New Horizons rips through Earth's gravity, punching past the clouds and into the vacuum. 9 hours later, it passes the moon. 9 hours. That's faster than any spacecraft before it. 10 times faster than the mighty Saturn V that carried Apollo to the moon. A slingshot through the stars. Its first target was Jupiter, a gravity assist, an interplanetary handshake to boost its speed. But even that flyby, which gave scientists valuable data on Jupiter's storms and moons, was just a step. Its real destination lay 4.7 billion kilometers ahead, Pluto. And from that moment on, New Horizons would become something rare, a silent traveler, gliding through space with no pit stops, no maintenance checks, no second chances. One by one, the years ticked by, and the world forgot. News coverage dwindled. Pluto had been demoted to a dwarf planet. The novelty had worn off. New Horizons was still moving, still on mission, but the public's attention had shifted. New missions, new headlines, but space doesn't care about headlines. Through that silence, New Horizons kept flying at 58,000 kilometers per hour, over 3.5 times the speed of a rifle bullet, crossing the void with absolute certainty. And with every passing day, it drew closer to something no human eye had ever truly seen. Pluto. Not a diagram, not a simulation, not a blurry pixel, but Pluto as it is. By 2014, New Horizons was nearing the final stretch. It started taking long-distance images, blurry, low-resolution, pixelated like forgotten arcade footage from the 1980s. But with every frame, something emerged. From blackness came shadow. From shadow came shape. From shape came form. Pluto began to bloom in the digital darkroom of space. These weren't just photos, they were revelations. The resolution grew slowly, agonizingly, because New Horizons could only transmit data at 1 kilobit per second. That's 1/1000th the speed of modern home internet, but the wait was worth it. Each day brought new contours, subtle shading, a line that might be a ridge, a soft crater's hint, and then the glimmer of something unthinkable. There it was, faint at first, like a smudge of light in a telescope, but symmetrical, smooth, light against the darker terrain, a heart, not an actual heart, of course, but unmistakably shaped like one, spanning over 1,000 kilometers, nestled on Pluto's surface like a planetary tattoo. Scientists stared in disbelief. NASA engineers, exhausted, analytical professionals, paused. Some wept. This wasn't just data. It was poetry carved in nitrogen and ice. Sputnik Planitia, as it would later be named, became the symbol of the mission. A landmark etched by nature, perfectly shaped to connect with our humanity. But it was more than beautiful. It was alive. This heart wasn't still. It showed no craters, meaning it was geologically young, maybe 10 million years, maybe younger. Convection patterns suggested the nitrogen ice, something that's a gas on Earth, was moving, gently, persistently, like a slow cosmic stew. Pluto wasn't frozen in time, it was changing. And that realization changed everything, because Pluto wasn't just a dead relic at the edge of the solar system. It was dynamic, complex, possibly active. New Horizons had traveled nearly 5 billion kilometers, and what it found wasn't a conclusion, it was the beginning of wonder. The world noticed. Suddenly Pluto was trending. People were Googling cryovolcano. Children were drawing hearts in space. A dwarf planet no longer felt small. It felt legendary. July 14th, 2015, New Horizons reaches its closest point to Pluto, just 12,500 kilometers above the surface. One final pass, and then silence. For hours, Earth heard nothing. No photos, no data, no confirmation. Not because the spacecraft failed, but because, at that moment, it was too busy doing what it came to do, capturing hundreds of high-priority images, details, readings, scans, terrain maps, atmosphere samplings, a total download that would take months to complete. And when that signal returned, what we saw left the world breathless. Mountains of solid water ice, glaciers that flowed like rivers of nitrogen, a heart still possibly beating, and more questions than answers. Pluto was no longer an afterthought. It was a world of wonder, waiting patiently in the shadows. Until one small machine reminded us to look again, and what it found changed space science forever. What New Horizons saw wasn't just shocking, it was emotional. A cold, dark planet had become something so much more. It had become alive. We weren't expecting a world that looked like it had been carved, sculpted, shaped by invisible hands, beneath layers of nitrogen and time. We weren't expecting beauty, and certainly not the kind of beauty that carried a message, poetic, mathematical, natural, and alive. This heart, Sputnik Planitia, wasn't symbolic. It was physical, scientific. A vast glacier made entirely of nitrogen ice, something that on Earth we only ever see as gas. But this wasn't just a frozen surface, it was moving, no craters, none. A sign that this surface was geologically young, perhaps less than 10 million years old. Scientists zoomed in. They saw polygonal shapes, patterns etched across the glacier like tiles or panels. These were convection cells. Nitrogen ice on Pluto isn't just sitting there. It churns, it shifts, it rises and falls like boiling soup. But on a scale of kilometers and over thousands of years, this is not what a dead planet looks like. This is what living geology looks like. And around this heart, mountains. Mountains made not of stone, but water ice, frozen so hard in Pluto's deep freeze that it behaves like rock. Some of them rise over 3,000 meters, as tall as the Rocky Mountains. And that alone would be strange enough, if not for what lay in the shadows of those peaks. Right, Mons dotted, towering 4-kilometer-high structure with a deep central pit, a volcano. But this isn't like anything we know on Earth. It doesn't erupt molten rock. It doesn't spit fire or ash. It may have once erupted ice. These are cryovolcanoes, and Pluto has more than one. They likely spewed water, ammonia, and possibly organic molecules, the basic ingredients for life as we know it. We used to think Pluto was a relic, a frozen memory. But what New Horizons revealed was something entirely different, a planet reshaping itself. Pluto isn't just scarred from the past. It's still writing its own story. And across that surface, there are strange chapters, like this one, Cthulhu Macula, a vast, dark region stretching across the equator, covered in reddish-black material, darker than anything else on Pluto. Its source? A class of compounds known as tholins. Tholins are formed when ultraviolet light hits simple molecules like methane and nitrogen. The result is a sticky, complex mess of carbon chains. They are prebiotic, meaning they could be the chemical stepping stones to organic life, and they're everywhere on Pluto, covering hills, filling valleys, settling into ancient impact basins. Alien, but familiar. They resemble the organic building, blocks that may have once existed on early Earth, and Pluto's secrets didn't stop at the surface. Above it all floated a sky, thin, fragile, but real. Pluto has an atmosphere, made primarily of nitrogen, like Earth, with traces of methane and carbon monoxide. But this isn't an atmosphere like ours. It doesn't hug the ground. It reaches, extending, hundreds of kilometers above the surface, layered like soft curtains hanging in the void. As New Horizons flew past, sunlight refracted through the haze. The result? Shadows cast by mountains through a blue mist. Photos came back with dreamlike color, purples and blues dancing across ridges with haze layers stacked above the surface like phantom blankets. Scientists counted up to 20 layers. A mystery in themselves, each one a window into atmospheric chemistry, each one a whisper of a planet that shouldn't have one, and yet somehow does. And here's where it gets even stranger. Pluto's orbit isn't a perfect circle, it's elongated, meaning sometimes it's closer to the Sun, and sometimes much farther. As a result, Pluto's atmosphere doesn't just sit still. It expands when closer to the Sun, collapses when farther. In fact, its surface pressure can quadruple in just one Earth year. This thin veil of gas can vanish or return, depending on the planet's position. It's not just atmospheric science, it's planetary breathing, and somewhere, tucked among the ridges and valleys, New Horizons saw what looked like a lake, but not of water. This was likely liquid nitrogen, frozen in time, resting silently in a depression, its origin unknown, its existence impossible. But it's there. In the span of days, Pluto went from a blurry ghost to one of the most complex and mysterious bodies in our solar system. Nitrogen glaciers, water ice mountains, cryovolcanoes, organic compounds, a layered, breathing atmosphere, a heart that might still be beating, and all of it orbiting nearly 7.5 billion kilometers from the Sun. No one thought we'd find a world like this. Not here, not so far away, but we did. And yet, Pluto wasn't alone, because orbiting just above its surface was a companion, a moon that wasn't just nearby, it was locked in an eternal embrace. It watched every revolution, it mirrored every turn, and it carried a secret of its own. Painted across its surface in deep red, Charon, the silent witness, the loyal twin. The next mystery, New Horizons, was about to unravel. We thought Pluto was the story, but orbiting just above it, another world was watching, a moon, a mirror, a mystery all its own. Its name is Charon, Pluto's largest moon, but calling it a moon feels almost inaccurate, because Charon isn't just orbiting Pluto, they orbit each other. Unlike any other planet-moon system in our solar system, Pluto and Charon don't follow the usual rules. Their center of gravity, the point around which they revolve, doesn't lie inside. Pluto, it lies in the space between them. It's as if two dancers are locked in a spin, forever facing one another, bound by gravity and silence. Charon is big, half the size of Pluto, and like its parent world, it was once considered just another frozen rock, dull, cold, unremarkable, until New Horizons flew by. What it saw surprised even the most seasoned scientists. A deep red stain, smeared across Charon's North Pole, haunting, alien, beautiful, like a fingerprint, a bruise, a mark. But where did it come from? The answer comes from Pluto itself. You see, Pluto's atmosphere, that thin, hazy veil made of nitrogen and methane, is constantly leaking into space, and because Pluto's gravity is so weak, some of those particles drift away entirely. Like whispers, carried by the wind, those organic compounds, the same tholins that darken Pluto's surface, drift outward, toward Charon, and there, in the polar cold, they settle. The poles of Charon are cold enough to trap these compounds permanently. Over millions of years, they've accumulated into a cosmic tattoo. That red stain on Charon. It's Pluto's breath, frozen in place, a gift from planet to moon, a mark of relationship. Two bodies, locked, always facing each other. One sharing its essence with the other, a gravitational standoff, a chemical connection, a story, told in silence. But Pluto and Charon weren't the end, because New Horizons wasn't done. Its journey wasn't over. After its historic flyby of Pluto and Charon, New Horizons kept going, and beyond the known, it found something stranger than anyone expected. Using the Hubble Space Telescope, scientists discovered a faint speck of light far beyond Pluto. They named it Arrokoth, a word from the Powhatan Algonquian language meaning sky. This object had never been seen before. It was too small, too dark, too far. In fact, we discovered it after launching the spacecraft that would visit it. That's a first in human history. On New Year's Day, 2019, New Horizons arrived, and what it saw was eerie. Arrokoth wasn't round, it wasn't jagged, it looked like a snowman. Two distinct lobes fused together, a shape known as a contact binary. It looked peaceful, soft, undisturbed. Unlike the battered worlds of the inner solar system, Arrokoth was smooth. No craters, no fractures, no scars. It hadn't been shattered, melted, or smashed. It had been left alone for 4 billion years. This wasn't just a rock, it was a time capsule, a pristine fragment from the era before planets formed, a preserved whisper from the solar system's childhood. New Horizons analyzed its composition. It detected methanol, water ice, hydrogen cyanide, and something else, a compound that absorbed light at 1.8 microns. Nothing in our database matches it. It may be something never seen before, a brand new molecule, or perhaps a compound so rare we've never captured it on Earth. Even stranger, Arrokoth was warmer than predicted. Models expected it to be about 12 Kelvin, just above absolute zero. Instead, it measured closer to 30 Kelvin. Something deep inside may still be releasing heat, a mystery buried in the stillness. And its shape? Oddly flattened. Scientists think centuries of sunlight may have heated one side, causing gases to escape and slowly alter its body, or perhaps the two lobes that formed it were once separate, slowly spiraling together until they touched, gently, like lovers, at a speed of just 2 meters per second. No collision, no explosion, just contact and permanence. New Horizons snapped one final image as it passed, a pale silhouette, a frozen memory, drifting beyond even Pluto, a goodbye. and maybe the last image any human will ever see of it. But the spacecraft didn't stop. It still hasn't. Even now, New Horizons continues. It has fuel, its instruments still work, and NASA is proposing a new mission to turn this spacecraft into the most distant observatory ever built. It could study ultraviolet light from distant galaxies. It could help detect rogue planets drifting in the dark. It might help us understand the true shape of the heliosphere, the invisible bubble that wraps around our solar system, all from over 7 billion kilometers away. So far from home, the sun is no longer a blazing orb, it's just another star in the distance, a faint memory of origin, and still, New Horizons listens, watches, waits. Pluto, the planet with a heart. Charon, the moon painted by breath. Arrokoth, the untouched relic of creation. One spacecraft, 3 worlds, infinite wonder. New Horizons didn't just take pictures, it changed what we believe is possible at the edge of everything. And out there, beyond where even sunlight fades, it's still flying, still whispering, still writing the next chapter of exploration. If these distant worlds gave us this much wonder, imagine what's waiting beyond them. Watch the next video to learn what the James Webb Telescope may have already discovered. If this journey through the forgotten edges of our solar system moved you even half as much as it moved us, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes in wonder. Every click helps us tell more stories from the stars and reminds the algorithm that space is still worth exploring.